Hello, my name is Ray Beauchemin. Welcome to another exciting chapter of reading at St. Andrews. Today I'm going to be reading the first 4 chapters of The Wizard of Oz. So here we go. Chapter 1, The Cyclone. Dorothy lived in the state of Kansas with her Uncle Henry and her Aunt Em. They all lived in a little wooden house in the middle of the great Kansas prairie. The land was very flat and there were no trees or other houses nearby. Uncle Henry was a farmer and he had built a wooden house himself many years before. The house only had one room. That room was used for eating and sleeping in too. There was a little hole under the house called the cyclone room, cellar. The family hid in the cellar when the strong winds of a cyclone blew across the prairies. The hot sun had burnt the paint on the little house. Now the paint on the house was gray. The sun had burnt the land around the house too. Everything on the prairie was gray. Uncle Henry and Aunt Em had gray hair and gray, tired faces. Dorothy's Uncle Henry and Aunt Em were poor and they worked very hard all their lives. It was not easy to be a farmer on the prairie, and Uncle Henry was always very tired. He never smiled, and Aunt Em would always look sad too. But Dorothy was always laughing. The girl had a little black dog called Toto. Dorothy played with Toto all day long. But today, Dorothy and Toto were not playing. Uncle Henry was standing with Dorothy in the doorway of the little house. He was looking at the gray sky, and he was very worried. Then they heard the sound of the strong wind. It was coming from the south. It whistled and roared. It blew the long grass of the prairies until it was flat. "There's a cyclone coming, Em," Uncle Henry called to his wife. "Get into the cyclone cellar. You get in too, Dorothy. I'll look after the cows and the horses." "Quick, Dorothy, get inside," Aunt Em cried as she opened the wooden trap door to the cellar. Aunt Em climbed down through the trap door into the little hole. Dorothy ran into the house with Toto, but the little dog was afraid of the wind. He jumped down from Dorothy's arms and ran under her bed. Dorothy caught him quickly and ran back across the room. But it was too late. The wind had blown into the house and shut the trap door. Dorothy could not get into the cyclone cellar. The wind blew harder and harder. The little house shook and Dorothy fell down onto the floor. Then a strange thing happened. Uncle Henry and Aunt Em's house began to move. It turned around and around, went up and up. It was in the center of the cyclone, where the north and south winds met. The winds pushed the house higher and higher like a balloon. The little house was carried over the prairie for miles and miles. Many hours went by. It was very dark now, and the wind went on making its terrible roaring sound. At last, Dorothy lay down on her bed with Toto beside her. The girl closed her eyes, and she was soon fast asleep. Hours later, Dorothy had woken up by a hard bump. Everything had gone still. The house had stopped turning, and bright sunshine filled the room with light. Dorothy jumped down from her bed and ran to the door. When she opened it, she gave a cry of surprise. She was not looking at the great prairie anymore. The house was in a beautiful country that was covered with green grass and tall trees. There were flowers of every color in the grass, and the trees were full of delicious fruit. Birds sang, and there were a little stream of clear water. "How different this country is from Kansas," Dorothy cried. "I have never seen such a beautiful place. Where am I, and how did I get here?" At that moment, Dorothy saw people coming towards her. The people were small, but they were not children. The 3 men had beards, and a woman's hair was white. They were all very strangely dressed. They wore big blue hats that were tall and pointed. The men were all dressed in blue, but the little woman was dressed in white. She walked towards Dorothy and bowed. "Welcome to the land of the Munchkins," the woman said. "Thank you for killing the wicked witch of the East. You must be a witch too. You have killed the wicked witch with your magic, and now we are free. Thank you." Dorothy was very surprised. She had no magic, and she never killed anyone in her life. You've made a mistake," Dorothy replied. "I am a girl, not a witch. I have not killed anyone." "Well, then your house killed her. It fell on top of her," said the woman with a laugh. "Look, you can see the legs of the wicked witch sticking out from under the house. You can see her silver shoes." "Oh dear," Dorothy said, looking down at the witch's legs and the beautiful silver shoes on her feet. What can I do? Nothing, the little woman said. The wicked witch of the east is dead. I am the good witch of the north, my dear, and I'm the Munchkin's friend, and now yours too. Dorothy was very surprised. I thought all witches were wicked, she said slowly. No, that's not true, the good witch of the north replied. There were 4 witches in the land of Oz. 2 were good and 2 were bad, but now thanks to you there is only one wicked witch, the wicked witch of the west. There is a wizard too. He is a great wizard of Oz, and he lives in the Emerald City. I am a girl and I live in Kansas with my aunt and uncle, Dorothy replied. Well, I used to live with them, she went on sadly. I was carried away here by the cyclone. Now I want to get back to Kansas. Can you help me? The good witch shook her head. There is a desert all around the land of Oz, she said. No one can cross it. You will have to stay with us, my dear. Dorothy began to cry. This is a beautiful country, she said, but Kansas is my home. Uncle Henry and Aunt Em are there, and they will be worried about me. Home is always the best place to be. Please help me get home. The girl went on crying, and the Munchkins began to cry too because they felt sorry for her. The good witch of the north thought for a moment. You must go to the Emerald City, she said after a while. The great wizard of Oz lives there. Ask him to help you. How do I get to the Emerald City? Is it a long way? Will you come with me? Dorothy asked. You must follow the yellow brick road, the good witch replied. It's a long way, but my kiss will protect you. No one will hurt you when they see this mark. The good witch kissed Dorothy and smiled. The kiss left a strange mark on Dorothy's forehead. Go to the great wizard. You will be safe now, she said. Dorothy stopped crying and thanked the good witch. Look, the wicked witch has turned to dust, one of the Munchkins said to Dorothy. Take her silver shoes, my dear. They may help you on your journey. Goodbye. The Munchkins walked away through the trees, talking happily. The good witch of the north smiled and walked away too. Dorothy and Toto were all alone in the land of Oz. Dorothy was feeling hungry. She went to the house, found some bread. She gave some bread to Toto and ate some herself. Then she picked up some fruit and drank some water from the stream. The clean blue and white dress was hanging by Dorothy's bed. The girl washed herself carefully and put on the dress. She then put some more bread in her basket. She picked more fruit and put that in the basket too. Dorothy looked down at her shoes. They were old and dirty. Then she looked at the wicked witch's silver shoes. I won't wear them if they will fit me, she said to herself. She put them on. Toto barked loudly and wagged his tail. Come along, Toto, Dorothy said. We will go to the Emerald City and see the Wizard of Oz. This is a beautiful country, but I must get back home to Kansas. The brave girl picked up her basket and shut the door of the house behind her. Then she started on their journey. Soon they found the yellow brick road and walked along it happily. There were fields on both sides of the road. All the houses that Dorothy saw were painted blue, the Munchkins' colors. In the evening, Dorothy was very tired and she wanted somewhere to sleep. She saw a large Munchkin house. It was painted blue, like the other Munchkin houses. But this house belonged to a very rich Munchkin. He had invited his friends to supper, and the food was on 2 long tables in front of the house. Music was playing, and the Munchkins were all dancing in the grass. The rich Munchkin looked at Dorothy's silver shoes. You are young, but you must be a very good witch, he said. Why, Dorothy asked in surprise. You are wearing the silver shoes. They belong to the wicked witch of the east. This means you have killed her, the Munchkin explained. Please eat with us. Your little dog can have some food too, and I have room where you can sleep. After her supper, Dorothy was very tired. She was taken into a room where everything was blue. The bed was very soft with blue sheets. Dorothy and Toto fell asleep at once. When Dorothy woke up, breakfast was ready for her. After she had eaten, the girl asked the Munchkins a question. How far away is the Emerald City? Where the Wizard of Oz lives, she asked. I want to see him. The wizard never sees anyone, the Munchkins replied, and many people are frightened of him. It is a long way to the Emerald City, and the journey will be dangerous. But I want to go home to Kansas, and the great wizard is the only one who can help me, Dorothy said bravely. So I must go to the Emerald City. Goodbye and thank you. And Dorothy and Toto started on their journey again. After they had walked several miles along the yellow brick road, Dorothy sat down to rest. There was a big cornfield by the side of the road. In the middle of the field was a scarecrow. It was fixed onto a pole. The scarecrow's head was made from a sack, which was stuffed with straw. He had 2 painted blue eyes, a nose, and a mouth. Dorothy looked at the scarecrow and smiled. "We have scarecrows in Kansas too," she said. "They scare the crows and stop them from eating the corn." "That's right," the scarecrow said. Dorothy looked at the scarecrow in surprise. "But our scarecrows in Kansas don't talk," she said. "I don't talk much," the scarecrow replied. "I'm standing here because I can't get down. The crows are not scared of me. They have brains and I don't." "Oh dear," Dorothy said calmly. "Perhaps I can help you." She stood up and lifted the scarecrow down from the pole. He was dressed like a munchkin in blue clothes. "That's better. I can move my legs now," the scarecrow said. "What is your name, my dear? Where are you going?" "My name is Dorothy. I'm going to the Emerald City to see the Great Wizard of Oz. I want to go home to Kansas." "The Emerald City, the Wizard of Oz, Kansas? I don't know anything of these things because I have no brains," the scarecrow said sadly. "My head is stuffed with straw." "Well, Kansas is my home," Dorothy said, "and there is no place like home, you know. The Wizard of Oz lives in the Emerald City. He is very clever. I hope he can get me back to Kansas." "Do you think that Oz would give me some brains?" asked the scarecrow. "I don't know," Dorothy replied. "Why don't you come with me? Ask him." "Thank you," the scarecrow. "That's a good idea." As they began to walk, Toto barked at the scarecrow. The little dog had never seen a strong man before. "Don't be afraid. Toto won't bite you," Dorothy said. "I'm not afraid," the scarecrow said. "I'm only afraid of one thing." "What is that?" asked Dorothy. "Fire," the scarecrow replied. They walked all day. In the evening they came to a great forest. It was dark under the trees, but the yellow brick road went right into the darkness. Dorothy could not see and held the scarecrow's arm. "I must rest soon. I've been walking all day," she said. "Well, I feel sorry for you. I never get tired because I have no brains," the scarecrow replied. "I can see a little house under the trees. Shall we stay there tonight?" "Yes, please," Dorothy said. She went inside the little house and fell asleep at once. Toto was soon asleep too. The scarecrow, who never got tired, stood by the door all night. When Dorothy woke up, the scarecrow was waiting by the door. Toto was running around and barking, and there was sunlight shining through the trees. "I must find some water," Dorothy said to the scarecrow. "I need to wash and drink. The bread in my basket is very dry." "I'm made of straw, so I don't need water," the scarecrow said. "You are made of flesh, so your life is more difficult than mine, but you have brains and you can think." "You will soon have brains too," Dorothy said kindly. They continued along the yellow brick road and came to a stream. Dorothy washed and drank, and Toto drank too. Suddenly they heard a shout. "Who's that?" Dorothy cried. Then she saw something shining under the tree and gave a cry of surprise. It was a man made of tin. The Tin Man had an axe in his hands and did not move at all. "Can I help you?" Dorothy asked the Tin Man. "I hope so," the Tin Man said. "I'm a woodman. I was working here when it rained. My joints rusted and I couldn't move. My oil can is in my house. Please get it for me." Dorothy ran back into the little house and found the oil can. She poured oil over the Tin Man joints. First the Tin Man moved his neck, then he moved his arms. Last of all, he moved his legs. "That is much better," he said. "I have not been able to move for a year and my axe is very heavy. Not many people come this way. Where are you going?" "We are going to the Emerald City to see the Great Oz," Dorothy replied. "I want to go home to Kansas with Toto, my dog. I hope the wizard can help me. My friend the Scarecrow will ask Oz to give him some brains." "I have no heart," the Tin Man said sadly. "Could Oz give me a heart?" "Why don't you come with us and find out?" Dorothy asked. The Tin Man thought for a while, then he said, "Thank you, I will. Please put my oil can in your basket. I will need it if it rains." So the friends went on their way along the yellow brick road. Soon the trees became very thick. Then the Tin Man was a great help. He cut the trees with his axe and made a path for them all. "You must have brains," the Scarecrow says, "because you know how to make a path through the trees." "I used to have brains and a heart," the Tin Man replied. "Now I have neither. Do you want to know why?" Dorothy and the Scarecrow nodded. "When I was a man of flesh," the Tin Man said, "I loved a Munchkin girl. but her mother hated me. She asked the Wicked Witch of the East to put some magic in my axe. That was very bad of her, Dorothy said. Every time that I used my axe, it slipped, the Tin Man went on. First it cut off my left leg, then it cut off my right one. I asked the tinsmith to make new legs, and I went on with my work. Then the magic axe cut off both my arms, so I asked the tinsmith to make me new arms. Then I cut off my head, so he had to make a new head. But when my body was cut in half, I lost my heart, and now I cannot love anymore. Brains are better than a heart, said the Scarecrow. Dorothy did not answer. She had brains and a heart, but she could not get back to Kansas. She was worried too. The bread in her basket was nearly all gone. Her new friends did not need food, but she did, and so did Toto. Thank you.